One of the main ways I know I have to talk about something is when something bad happens, and this always flashes through my head. Like, no one was here. No, I never have to tell anyone about this. Like, that now means to me, I definitely have to talk about this.
My name is Figs O'Sullivan.
And I'm Teale O'Sullivan.
We're emotionally focused couples therapists, and we're a couple.
In an act of sheer bravery
or foolishness,
we're sharing our own couples therapy sessions with the world.
Watch or listen to us fight,
cry,
laugh,
and repair.
Then grow in your relationships along with us through the insight we share as couples therapists.
There's a little kid inside of each of us just reaching out for love and connection.
Let's begin to reach back out to each other.
Welcome home.
This is Come Here to Me.
So welcome back, everybody, to Come Here to Me with Figs
and Teale.
So we're really excited to share about this particular couples therapy session we had.
Yes.
This was a little different because we primarily spoke about one of us.
Right.
As opposed to, our relationship.
Right.
So I think that'll be interesting just to talk about. But before we kind of got into it, I'd kind of been dying to tell someone the way you got me so good. Today is Sunday. You got me so good on Friday.
Right.
You want to set the scene?
Yeah, I think I'll set the scene just because people should know that sometimes I win.
You do. You definitely won this time.
And twice. Oh, I'm so excited. Yeah, so we're so privileged and lucky to get to have a house cleaner that comes
Exactly.
every 2 weeks.
Yeah.
All right, our house is nasty, okay? And we need help.
Yeah.
Like, we've just decided we need help. This has been something we've established. And so our house cleaner was going to come at a particular time. Now, I'm in contact with her, and I knew that she was going to be a bit late. Totally fine. Late works for me. Usually takes me a while to get things ready. So I had a big plan to go to town, right?
Mm-hmm.
The town side here in Hawaii. And I had, packed a bunch of beach stuff. The 2 kids were already in the car. That was my big accomplishment.
Exactly.
You thought we'd been gone for like 20 minutes.
Exactly. I thought you'd already left the house and I was alone in the office upstairs.
Right. Little did you know, I was just right downstairs in the parking garage with the kids in the car and trying to organize towels and goggles as though I'm like some organized person. No, I'm not. Just make sure everything's there. And so I run back in because I realized, oh, gosh darn it. I forgot. I know it's kind of lame, but it was like an afternoon toothbrush situation that I wanted to do for the kids. So I ran back in to get that toothbrush. And I decided to have a quick pee while I was in there. I said,
As you do.
As I do.
Literally.
What is that? Okay, thank you. What weird. Anyway, moving on.
You pee a lot.
Okay, well, that's for another episode. Okay.
Right. Yeah, go ahead.
So I ran back in, had a quick pee. The door was open. I'm comfortable. I knew the house cleaner wasn't going to be there. I knew Figs was here. I was like, everything's fine. I grabbed the toothbrush, and then I hear this very tentative, timid Irish voice coming down the stairs. Hello.
That's not exactly how it
No, it really, your voice was so polite. It was like, hello. And so I just returned with a slight accent myself. Hello.
See, I felt really bad. I realized I was upstairs in the office without a mask. And all the masks are by the front door. So I was running down to grab a mask and tell the house cleaner, oh, I'm in the house. Right. So that they wouldn't get a fright. But as I start, going towards the front door, I see the downstairs bathroom, the door's open and I can hear someone pee. So I'm like, oh my God, they must have been dying to pee. And so they raced into the house and had to pee immediately. And then they assumed no one was here. And so they started peeing with the door open. Oh, bless them, the poor little devils. So I was doing everything I could to try and help them not feel embarrassed. It's okay that you're peeing right now with the door open. I was trying to be really, really nice.
But you can just hear in Figs' voice, how truly nice he is. Who's going to be suddenly going to this deep counter shame themselves? You can just hear Figs. He feels people's embarrassment. He's more embarrassed for people than they are embarrassed. And that is what's happening here. And it really clouds his judgment. And he completely misses. You guys, I mean, I'm going to exaggerate. So now I'm going to like scale it back. I think it was like about a 7-minute, that's a non-exaggerated version of how long the conversation went on from here with me as, listen.
I can't remember whose name you said.
I probably said Clarissa, and I had a little bit of a Swedish accent, if I might say so. I don't know, I probably butchered it, but I was just invoking this Swedish accent and, you know, playing out a fantasy. But I will say, Figs and I, you know, for the listeners back at home, we josh each other. We're like,
you do
funny.
but this
like,
is your best one. But let's tell them the dialogue, because I think the dialogue is the best part. So look, I come down the stairs and Clarissa is peeing in the downstairs bathroom with the door open. And so I'm like, oh, I just want you to know that I'm here and I'm sorry we didn't tell you beforehand. And then you're, hello.
I said, hello. Oh, I'm just having a little pee-pee. Yeah. And then you're like, oh, and then I can hear my Figs wheels spinning. And it was like laughing because I'm like, he sounds so polite. And then I throw it out again, thinking he's going to be like, okay, babe, get down to the car. The kids are probably like eating each other alive in there. But no, he thinks I'm Clarissa. And so I say, don't you want to come see me? Having a little pee-pee? Right. And like, I'm so embarrassed to say this now, like it's disgusting, but it's just, we're just like having a good time. Exactly. I'm having a good time. He's in like a very serious.
No, well, because I just felt bad. I thought, actually, look, if there was a young woman, like in a bathroom.
She's a younger woman.
The house cleaner.
Yes.
Yeah. And she came into someone's house, thought no one was there, that I could see like that she could start trying to take back control. Like this is the way my mind, is there a way it makes sense that someone would invite me to see them peeing? And I'm like, I could see that they would do that because they felt they didn't have any control over the situation. So I just was saying back, like, you know, no, I don't really want to see you pee. It's okay. Take your time.
Like, he's really like in this place. Like,
and then you kept asking me. And then
I said again, like, are you sure you don't want to see me pee? Like, this was a long pee. You guys can imagine there's a whole dialogue going on.
Exactly. And so then I said, no, look, I have 2 small kids. I see enough people pee. I thought that was very clever and way of like softening and making it funny. And then this was the part, what you said next was when I literally was standing by the couch with my dog, and I actually looked at my dog like my dog was a person, looking at her and going, what the fuck? What the fuck is that for? Because you responded, what was it you said back then?
You're like, oh no, thank you. I see people pee all the time. Like, and I was laughing. I was like, that's a good one. But then I say, but don't you want to see a woman pee?
Right. And that's where I was just like, oh my God. And so I was like, no, it's okay. I don't want to see you pee. And look, anyway, this went down. I feel like I'm so stupid. I didn't know it was you. But then eventually the other thing you said that seemed just bizarre, like, and I'm like, look, I know there are crazy people in the world. So I'm just like, okay, this person's a little different.
You can just see how tolerant he is. Like, he's just like, yeah, this is happening. Right. This is a real situation.
But yeah, the other crazy thing that you said was you were like, oh, you passed my test.
But I had gone back into my Teale voice, which was just, okay, man.
I still didn't know it was you.
You still didn't know it was me. I thought it was like this crazy, you've passed my test. Like, it's going back into this, thinking this young woman had been caught red-handed peeing and that she was trying to take back the power by doing this bizarre thing where she was in control.
Exactly. And then when you walked out the bathroom.
Figs was just like, what the actual fuck? Like, had no idea, you guys.
Exactly.
And now I think I'm not exaggerating. It was about 15 minutes, wasn't it?
I don't know.
It was a long time. It
felt like a long time. But I don't think you peed that long. You are a champion peer.
Okay, that is enough about my bladder, okay? We'll talk badge matters another day.
Oh, yeah, right. Okay.
Wait, no. This part is mine because you're going to try to ignore for the listeners what happened next. So Figs, I had a big laugh. Figs was looking at me like, what the actual fuck? And I was like, okay, whatever, dude. I got to go. He's like, I thought you were. And I was like, I'm not even here for the explanation. I got to go down to the kids. I started to hear the kids screaming. And I went down to the kids, gave them the toothbrush, and realized, oh, crap. I forgot to put the toothpaste on there. And Keen was like, but where's the toothpaste? And I was like, okay, man, I got to go back. So I go back and it's 5 minutes later because I did a little bit of organizing with those towels and goggles again. I ran back up went back into the bathroom, and as I'm in the bathroom, I hear Figs' voice again. Hello. And so I do it again. Hello. Like just thinking this is like the Twilight Zone.
Right.
And then I just like run out and he's like, what? I didn't know it was the second time I got him, like twice. It was just brutal for you.
You got me.
I'm
twice.
so sorry.
No, that was really good. You really got me.
He went and told every single person he saw in the street the whole story about how I asked if I wanted him to see me peeing like a woman.
Yeah, well, it's role play. This is one of the parts of the show is we'll help couples spice up their relationship by pretending you're the house cleaner.
Did it work?
Well, it sure got my blood flowing. Yes, exactly. It definitely did. Right. It was terrifying, which is good. Terror is a stimulant or it's an aphrodisiac, I guess, for some.
Yeah, it creates arousal.
Anyway, look, I love that. I love moments in life where the world doesn't make sense. It's just, stimulating, exactly. But brilliant. Hey, come here. Thanks for listening to our story.
That was a hoot.
So let's talk about this session.
Yes.
Right. And we'll try and do a quick setup, right?
Yeah, let's do a quick setup.
So here's the deal. The session today, I was a little, which I usually am, nervous about going into couples counseling because I didn't really have anything particularly I wanted to process or talk about us. And it didn't seem like you did either in the early stages. You know what I mean? That you didn't really have anything you wanted to talk about.
Yeah, it's hard. Sometimes I can resist going to couples therapy, even though I want it so bad. But I was just kind of like, we were doing good. We were overwhelmed. Right. But there had been this situation.
Exactly. And so that's where, look, I thought it was best, as you'll hear in the session, I had a moment a day before couples counseling where I had a bad interaction with someone. And I thought, look, I better talk about it because when I feel bad inside, even if it's nothing to do with you and I, it ends up impacting the quality of my presence with you and with the kids. And so, Jesus, it's better to tell you so at least you know what's going on versus it just seems Figs is kind of weird or different or off or mean or grumpy or whatever it is, right?
Right.
Whatever way it manifests on the outside when I'm trying to process something or desperately trying not to process something, which you'll hear us talking about. Mm-hmm. So I thought it was a great example of how, look, even when something is nothing to do, it looks like on the outside with your relationship, sometimes it's a really good thing to talk about because it'll end up impacting your relationship if you've something big going on and you don't talk about it.
Such a good point, right? And so we did talk about it, and I won't go too much into it, but I just was really appreciative of what Figs was sharing. And I just wanted to say, as a kind of clinical piece to other people in couples therapy, a lot of times, especially in the beginning, several sessions, you're going to do lots of little scoops, hopefully with each person. There's not going to be one person that kind of gets a big amount of time.
Right.
But because of where Figs and I were at.
In the early stages of couples counseling, you only spend a little bit of time with each person versus a lot of time with any one person. Why is that?
Well, it's because, that's a good question. It's because of escalation, right? That's what I would say is that oftentimes people are in a bit of a tougher place. You stay with one person and the other person's over there fuming. You can't always tell. And actually that's even happened with a couple minutes of one of us stayed with by our therapist. It's even happened between us.
Exactly. In the earlier sessions, and it'll happen again.
It'll happen again. Sure. And we've had, for those of you that are following this in sort of chronological order, we've had some pretty kind of volatile sessions, even the last week, even the week before, not like volatile, like really bad, but just we were really getting into it.
We're in our cycle, the way we have a negative fight with each other, negative communication
communication pattern. And we were actually pretty good with each other. We were feeling pretty bonded, okay, tired. You'd had this interaction and I was happy to kind of hear about it. Of course it impacts me. And I was also just kind of witnessing and appreciating you as someone who's talking about something that they don't feel great about.
Yeah. And look, I'm really glad you brought that up, just about it's a good indication that you're doing well in the couples counseling if we can spend more time with one person and the therapist doesn't have to be talking to both of you quickly. quickly back and forth. So I actually thought, like, that's actually a good sign that we're in a good place, that it was okay. It wasn't activating or triggering, bringing up like us into a fight, that we're talking about me, and that everything wasn't so disorganized that there's 20 things we need to talk about today. Right. Which, we've had sessions where the fourth or the fifth session that we already shared with you, where it was very hard to organize what's actually going on. And so we end up kind of tiptoeing around. But anyways, a good sign where we are in the process and with our therapist, that things are kind of coalescing and organizing so we can just do one thing at a time. That's great. The other thing I wanted to say before we get started is, look, whether I should or I shouldn't be so honest about my own internal process and the way I can feel bad about myself and share my own reactivity, the kind of behaviors I have that I'm not proud of. The reason I do it is I believe everybody has these things. Like, everybody has places they can feel bad about themselves, and everybody has ways that they respond when they feel bad about themselves that are not very helpful. Right. And so the idea is that, can you actually come to know those hurt places inside yourself, those shame-filled places inside yourself, see the way you react, and actually own it, accept it, start to be able to share it with other people, as opposed to spending your whole life trying to deny it, or just trying to work on beating that part of you into submission by meditating more. Not that those things aren't bad, but we want to do it from a place of acceptance. So I'm, trying to model. I mean, it's real. I'm not performing, is what I really feel, but also hoping what you get from this is like, I have places I feel bad about myself, and I have ways I respond, quote unquote, negatively. And it's okay. What's not okay is that you stay in a place of justification as a way to protect yourself and not feel the weight of your own shame or hurt places. What's not okay is you stay in a place of being obsessed that it was the other person that was the problem, and I was just a pure victim in this situation, right? Like, that you do at some point start to be curious about yourself, find what that vulnerability is, and, be kind to yourself and share it.
It takes guts. And in fact, even doing the session, I got in touch with an interaction that I had had earlier that day. I didn't go into it.
That's true.
But just inside of myself, and I think I just named at some point during the session, I was like, wow, just you being kind of brave and humble and feeling shame around this, and just, talking about it actually helped me realize, like, man, I didn't respond in a way I wanted to with this nice lady. So anyway,
so let's watch the clip, and then we'll talk about a bit more specifically on the back end.
Great.
What do you want to talk about, Figs?
Well, I have something going on right now that I thought might be good to talk about, the name, just because it's stuck inside me. And even if it's not immediately related to you and I, it'll impact you and I, because it's inside me and I feel bad. I had a terrible interaction with one of my neighbors.
Okay.
And this is really unfortunate. This type of interaction, I would say, literally, if I've had 5 over the last 10 years, all 5 have been about my dog. Like, literally all of this, where I end up in an altercation with another person, it's always around our dog.
Not a physical altercation.
No, but like, part of what makes it feel bad is it feels like it's literally moving in that direction.
Do the dogs get into it somehow?
Exactly.
What starts
it?
Yeah.
And I should just, like, I have a little bit of PTSD. Last year, our dog, we've a Labradoodle,
Like, really, really important to us.
Yeah, this is our baby,
She's
our child.
Our child.
But she got bitten last year and had to carry her, like, to the car, to the vet to get surgery, a big gaping hole in her. And so I'm really sensitive to her getting attacked and stuff by another dog. And yesterday, one of the neighbor's dogs, like a terrier, like some Scottish terrier or something, like, was off leash and attacked our dog. And so I was trying to get our dog, my dog is on a leash. Our dog, Zephyr, is on a leash. And I was like, trying to get the dog away. And at first I used voice command, but it actually stopped. The little terrier stopped. And then it started going again. And there's this little kid who's trying to grab the dog. And I said, listen, look, grab your dog. I will kick your dog. Like, this is, I will kick your dog. If it actually goes for my dog, and I'll end up kicking your dog. And then eventually he gets hold of the dog. And then the dad comes out. And the dad's like, what's the problem here? And he's walking towards me. I walk towards him and said, look, your dog just attacked my dog. And he goes, this little guy? Right. And then, and I said it to him, like, look, my dog got bitten last year. So, now I'm saying all of that very calmly right now, but I said that as an Irish person before. So there's a lot more fucking this and fucking that fucking crazy dog going for my dog. And so, like, towards the end of it, the guy's going, yeah, keep walking. And I, of course, in my Irish way, the last thing as I said is like, you're a fucking cunt. And I feel, I feel so bad about myself, like getting into that. I don't think I handled the situation very well. I mean, there's no, look, his dog's not on leash, my dog is on. There's so many like factors I could point to where, like, it kind of makes sense that I was upset. But I also think that while I might have, started de-escalating the situation by moving away, like, and stuff like that. There's ways in which I don't feel, it makes me feel really bad when I get into those kind of conflicts with someone.
Mm-hmm. I think we all do. It's like a road rage thing. And then
exactly.
What am I doing?
I feel really bad that,
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, so I just actually, part of why I'm glad we did the recording this morning is I literally wake up this morning feeling really ashamed and really bad about myself. And so doing the recording this morning, like, I did something good and productive today, so I don't have to feel as bad about myself. Because it really weighs really heavily on me, like getting really angry at someone and like being, cursing at them. I feel it's really heavy inside me feeling bad about myself.
Can I just say, I really appreciate you like bringing this up and like just, naming this as something that's like really sitting with you. And I had a weird interaction today, by the way, with the like parking lady at Grace's school. Not like aggressive, but it's like, I know what you're talking about. And I just think, I don't know what the solution is. I just know that talking about it is it's helpful for the people around you. And I think you're good. This is one of the reasons why I loved Figs from the beginning of us being together, was that like you share, like you're sharing. You're not like someone that's like, that didn't happen, I'm not going to talk about it. I mean,
right. So
you're like, oh, I got to share. But like some people don't do that, right?
Yeah, there's such a sense of available for intimacy in Figs.
Well,
for both of you, actually. But Figs, I was going to ask you, sharing the story with us, how did that feel? Did you notice some shift in the shame or anything?
Well, yeah, one of the things I noticed inside one of the main ways I know I have to talk about something is when something bad happens, and this always flashes through my head. Like, no one was here. No, I never have to tell anyone about this. And that actually I've now turned into an opposite. Like, that now means to me, I definitely have to talk about this.
Well, that's good.
Like,
that's great.
And so that's why, the talking about it is really important, because otherwise I'm literally, it takes so much energy to bury it.
Yep.
That I have a temper, and I'm not very good. I'm not as grounded as I would like to be in certain situations, right? With the kids, when our son is like acting out, or the kids are playing and one of them falls off the bed, I don't make those situations better. I think I said this now. Like I make those situations worse, right? Because I'm so like, what happened? And the kids, you know, my daughter's scared. I didn't mean it. You know, like I don't make those things better. Right. And like with this situation with the dog, I feel it's that same part of me that I didn't help make that situation better yesterday.
Right.
Right. And that just sucks. I hate that. But it's better to share it than be left alone with it inside
Totally.
yourself, you know. And I appreciate your validation. Like one of the things that's been really weird in the past, we had a moment before where this guy spat at our dog in the park.
Mm.
And I walked up to him, and he was with a girlfriend, right? And at one point I told him, "You're a brave cunt." Right. and the girlfriend, her reaction was, "Oh," she let out this, "Oh," like, you know, like sound of just like, "Whoa," that was very rude, you know.
Yeah, right.
And when I told Teale and her friend this, they loved it. They were really happy and proud. That I always just feel it's such a weird juxtaposition that I'm not proud of that. But like, you know, I don't feel good about, and again, it's always with our friggin' dog. Like I'm going to end up getting shot on the street because of an altercation with our dog. But
you always feel bad, even if in different cases it might feel more warranted than other cases.
Yeah, but warranted or not, like when like having a reason, like just being abusive, insulting someone, trying to make them feel bad, exerting power. Like, you know, I'm 6'3" and 225 pounds on a good day, 235 really. Like, you know, like I'm really big and imposing. And like making people feel bad, I just feel awful. Like I just don't feel, it makes me feel really bad about myself.
Do you have a sense that in these situations you have ever increasing wherewithal to make some kind of repair?
Yeah. And look, one of the things, again, one of the things I've learned is, one of the first thing I've learned is in situations like this, I move towards people. And I've learned over time, you know, so sometimes it's really confusing for me that people feel, it makes no sense to me that people feel I'm very threatening because I move towards people. And so one of the things I've learned to do is I move away from people. Anytime and it seems so basic, but I realize that I'm very comfortable. Again, some of this is art. It's normal for people to be shouting and cursing at each other. You know,
it's not as big an impact.
It's not that big of a deal. It's a normal thing. Shut up, you mouthy bollocks. You fuck up.
Right.
Like that's a norm. That's not that abnormal an interaction to have, right? But and so two people moving towards each other while shouting insults at each other is just like that's okay. Whereas here it's not okay.
Right.
And so I've learned to step away because it looks like, oh my God, this person is actually really is going to fight me, you know. But yeah, look, I mean,
can I just
like
I'm a little afraid to like.
No, please.
I'd like to relate this to us more specifically.
Let's do it.
Like I think. For me, I think with outside altercations that happen like this, I actually have found it like as a bonding experience for us, because I feel like I can be supportive of you. I can, you know, like I listened last night. I listened, you know, and I'm not like, you know, I think most of the time, like when you've had tough interactions, you can say, I'm scared to tell you something.
Right.
And that I think 100% of the time, sometimes I've been like, that's not that bad. Or I've been like, oh, that sucks.
Yeah.
But I'm not like, oh, figs.
Yeah, you're not like me, like disapproving of me.
But I was just saying, I think that this actually has been bonding for us, and hopefully a little bit of counter shame stuff that happens, just because like, I'm not like, oh my God, Figs is this monster. Like, I think you're so great for being able to tell me. I think people have these moments. I do think there's cultural differences. and I hear that you don't like this feeling.
Right.
Exactly.
But I think the remedy that you're going for, maybe, or I am, is make it easier to talk about it so the shame can, evaporate.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's why like on the surface, I get like, it doesn't seem like it's immediately related to us, but when I have these things inside me and I leave them sitting inside me, it then impacts us for the rest of the day. Like, because I'm not really fully, it takes so much to keep that inside it impacts my presence.
It's got a whole history with you. That whole rabbit hole, the more you talk about it, the more you come out of it, right?
Exactly. Yeah. And some of it just is time too, right? But I want to be better. I'm just blown away again. I can't think of any other instance these days without it being about our dog. It's crazy the amount of having a dog, you get to interact with humanity in a different way.
We've had.
I guess I don't want to be a solution finder, but like I just know the guy you're talking about. And obviously I don't think you should do this, but I wonder, just as a philosophical idea, is, this guy is suffering too. He didn't like that interaction. He's thinking about it. Military culture, we don't know that much about it.
Yeah, I don't know.
We know we've actually had experiences here that have been different than what we, projections that we have. We've had nourishing experiences with military people and have mad respect, and also have some limiting views that I think have stayed. And but I just wonder, like, I mean, is there repair, and what does that look like? And maybe that's silly, and I don't think it needs to go towards anything. I just wonder, it's funny. I'm kind of concerned about his mental health around it too. Just because you're kind of someone, like, you have a therapy experience and you can talk about it, and like, you're someone that can process about it. But for someone that's not able to talk about it and that has that shame on the inside.
Yeah.
Anyway, just
no. I'm open to approaching him. And
what would you say to him?
I'd probably say, look, I have feelings and I'm going to express it through improvisational dance.
Love it.
I've processed my feelings, and I think they're so complex. I think movement is the best way to share it with you. And
I usually do it naked.
Yeah, exactly. So no, I would probably tell him, look, I would just try and own my part and really try not to expect anything from him. Look, I didn't handle that well. I'm really sorry. I wish I handled it better. Whether I should or something, like, I do have a bit of trauma around our dog being bitten, and I wish I handled it better. I'm sorry.
But it does feel a lot better when you make a gesture like you just modeled.
Yeah, I think it would feel better.
One thing that keeps coming up that feels rich is the sort of the rabbit hole experience that you have. And lifelong, maybe.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, when you say the rabbit hole right now, what comes up to me for that is where I feel out of control, like not resourced to deal with a moment, and then I'm likely to be angry.
And then shameful. And
it's shameful, exactly.
And then you kind of want to move to Alaska.
Exactly. I want to move to Alaska. Whether that's just internally and make sure no one knows it happened, or whether it's and the
whole thing, it's pretty simplistic notion I have so far, because I haven't known you long, but you've described it well, and it feels like a place of suffering that you're trying to get quicker relief from.
I mean, look, I can feel really bad about myself, like, ashamed, that I'm not better at being mindful. I hate to use it now because the word is so, like cliche.
California.
Yeah, but I wish
I wish I was better resourced more of the time, that I could meet moments of chaos with a little bit more, dignity or like togetherness, than escalating situations, right? Like a dog attacks my dog and I make things worse. Like that just sucks. Right? Like it's already bad enough, but I don't make things better,
Yeah, it's kind of what you were talking about earlier. Yeah,
exactly. So yeah, and I think on the back end of stuff, I'm relatively good at counter-shaming myself and sharing it and giving you.
Yeah, you're great.
Right. But I don't know if I look after myself that well to ensure that I'd be less likely to end up in these situations, like in terms of self-care.
I think that's well said. From what I've seen, is like the fire comes on quickly.
Fire comes on quickly, exactly. And this, one of the ways I've thought about it is, look, I did so much, most of us in Northern California, like I just did so much personal development work. I'm living in Esalen and workshops and dancing and all of like therapy and like just like all the therapy sessions unending. Yeah. And then I got married and had kids. And I often liken it to, I had a big bank account of self-development and like I had this huge like balance, and I took withdrawal after withdrawal after withdrawal.
The bank account is getting
my bank account right now. And that's why I keep thinking about this Ernest Hemingway quote, like, how did you go bankrupt? And it's like slowly at first and then all of a sudden. And I just feel that I didn't notice for years and years that, because there was a balance that now all of a sudden, like I just don't even know how to do self-care anymore. You know what I mean?
Everybody that I've talked to says that parenting is the hottest path.
Right. Yeah.
The hottest fire. And it's good that you're continuing to work, because you're going to need it with the teenagers.
Oh my God. Yeah, I know. That's the thing. Like, Jesus, no, I have visions of me, unresourced me with a 6-year-old and a 3-year-old is one thing. Unresourced me with a 15-year-old or 16-year-old, like, holy shit. Like, two things. One, it feels really good. It did feel really validating just when you said, look, that it's the hottest path, right? The parenting. Yeah. And then also, and I do think I need to do more work on being able, to take care of myself, because, I don't think it'll get, I think we're going to have our hands full when they're teenagers, at least, if not beforehand. He's okay?
Yeah.
Good job.
Thanks. You guys you can continue the session by yourself if you want.
Well, no, I'm happy.
No, it's fine. We're just
we were just talking away about parenting being the hottest path, right? The most demanding and challenging. Yeah.
And it's interesting that teenagers are sensitive, just like young kids, just like we all are. They're sensitive. And if you get triggered, even though it feels like they deserve it more for you to get pissed off at them.
Yeah.
It feels like they deserve your fire.
Right.
They get shamed really easily, and it just doesn't help. It feels so warranted though.
Right, exactly. No, I can only imagine. Yeah, well, look, and that's where I want to be able to have a better grasp of my reactivity, just because I understand that it really hurts. Just like, this guy is a stranger, and regardless of how macho he looks on the outside, it hurts, right? And it's good. It fundamentally hurts human beings to be in a situation like that. And then, of course, it really hurts you if I have a moment I'm not resourced and I'm reactive with you, and it definitely really hurts our kids. So I want to do work on the front end, not just, I'm good at doing the work on the back end to repair, but I'd like to be better at looking after myself so that I'm more resourced in these moments,
What do you think would help? What kind of work on yourself would help that the most?
I feel bad even saying it, like, but look, even just exercise is huge. I mean, there's just some basic things, right? And exercise is huge. I think doing this is really good. Like this whole, just the counseling, the seeing ourselves, being, doing the project together feels really good. You know,
So it's like with all these, there's like a lot of good things, but some of the like more basic life stuff like exercise and diet are things that Figs and I are still trying to figure out how to incorporate into our life and
how not to get derailed by life.
Derailed and
it's hard with young kids.
You're really kind of saying that as much as there's a lot of good this week, we've had some breakthroughs with kind of like stuff on the back burner that has been really stressful, that we have this project and that we're learning sort of emotionally, but you feel like you're kind of under-resourced in other ways.
Exactly. Yeah. I almost don't want to say it just because I'm worried I'm not going to follow through. Like the exercise is something I have to follow through, but like just like even the stuff like, do you know who David White is?
He's poet.
A poet. Yeah.
Yeah, I know him. Yeah.
Like, look, I mean, I'm not going to dance and stuff these days, but I'm certainly not dancing over Zoom with people. It's bad enough being in a room with people. Like dancing on Zoom is way too hippie for me. That's not going to happen.
But you did do it with clients in the room? Did you do it?
No, with or like a bunch of people, everybody's in the room.
Oh, you mean like sweat your prayers or something?
That's not happening. I draw the line at Zoom dancing. Sorry. But I would, like, one thing that would probably be great for me is like to get it, like to be part, like to more actively do like something like a David White workshop, like something that's, again, like I'm not particularly Mr. Spiritual Pants, but I do find it's very helpful for me to get in touch with something bigger than just practicality, right? And like even, I'm very practical in everything I do. And so something like David White, as a communicator of emotional and spiritual wisdom, I find it really good to connect into something much bigger, right? Like it's all, a much bigger concept of self and the universe, and
but what's so cool about like that, and obviously when Figs and I first met, like we were both doing things that we've lost now,
right?
Things that were really major. It's part of what was so attractive about one another, right?
Yeah.
Right.
And like those, obviously we've stayed, attracted, but it's like life took us over.
Exactly.
And we've lost those things. And so I just think it's cool to even hear you talk about this, like getting in touch with the desire to do a David White workshop. And I know it's easier said than done to make it happen, but it just sounds like even though you're not like diving off into some spiritual path, that you're feeling, it's like somehow the spirituality and connecting with the reactivity that happened with this fellow neighbor, there's like a tie there, and you're like conscious of it when you spend a little bit of time with it, huh?
Right. Absolutely. Yeah, I think that's really good. There's something about losing contact with the universal human suffering and the condition that makes me more reactive in a given like personal moment, and that's why I like these kind of, whether it's dance or poets, that even if it seems cheesy, there is a way that there's an invitation to something much bigger, like connection to humanity, or
Well, but also just really conscious somatic work, like yoga or dance, even that is helpful in that way.
It's very helpful. And that's like, look, when we met, you dance 10 to 12 hours a week. And now we dance 0 hours a week, right? So it's and that's not your fault. I mean, that was something I chose to do in order to be here the way I am. And, no one asked me to do it this particular way. I stopped dancing and I stopped having friends, in a way, right? That's what I chose to do. And yeah. And it has an impact on my whole personhood.
And dance is so great because it's music, it's movement, it's aerobic. It can be aerobic.
Exactly.
And,
oh yeah.
And
and it's connection, right?
And connection if it's with other people. But the exercise just alone, I mean, I take my dog out if he hasn't had a walk in a day or two.
Yeah.
And he is aggressive. He's aggressive with us. He's aggressive with other dogs. We let him off leash in the field. He runs like crazy, goes in crazy eights, running all over the place. And then we bring him home and he's chilled with other dogs. It's just simple,
right? Yeah,
like
exactly.
Neurobiology,
Exactly. I am just like your aggressive dog that didn't get any exercise. I know, you're right. No, it makes a huge difference.
I just wanted to acknowledge what you just, I think like maybe you were. I think what's cool about this is, and there's no solutions, is just kind of standing at the top of the mountain and looking at like, wow, how did I get up here? And so it's like, It's feeling good, and that you're actually at a place where you can look down. And I think even getting in touch with the grief of, wow, my friends, my dance, or my art, my yoga, this stuff it's been sacrificed away. And I think sometimes when we're in it, we can't even see the grief. So it's like, I just know that I hear that you're kind of in touch with the loss in this moment. And
but we made choices, Tom, like we're like, attachment parents, right? We're just like, we'd have friends and stuff that would have gone away for a week or something, like from their kids. Like, I don't know if we've spent, have we ever spent time away from our kids? Ever. We've never spent time away from our kids. Now, I don't want that to be any different, right? I don't want to spend time away from our kids, but there is a price. There's a big, big price, right? Like, so.
It's some of the things that Teale was just naming.
Exactly. There's a huge price to these way we've made a choice in a particular type of parenting that just feels intuitively right for us.
Yeah.
And there are consequences,
right,
to it on the other side.
There's no time that the price has felt more high than during the pandemic.
Right.
We've been primary parents and school teachers and on. And now that's for our kids and for where we're at in the geographical location, we're having a little bit of opening for that and claiming open air space a little bit, walks on our own,
swimming.
That's so nice.
So the ocean is just phenomenal, right? The ocean
so nice.
is just, what a healing.
Yeah.
But I just thank you for just, first of all, just sharing about, feeling bad about this interaction with this guy. And, it makes me want to speak out more about my bad interaction today. And actually, I think I am going to do an action with this lady because I don't feel good about it. But it's not going to be like baking cookies. I'm just going to be really, really friendly with her. But it just helps me. It's like a modeling and mirroring of when I feel shame inside to actually be able to talk about it and not squirrel it away.
Right.
And that feels developmental. And so anyway, I feel like it's brave for you to talk about. It's vulnerable. And I feel like it's bonding for us. And it's okay to feel grief about the things that we've lost, and that you're just like so in touch right now with like the spiritual connection, that longing. So
yeah, I'm just noticing your time, but thank you, sweetie. It's really
yeah. You guys, I'm glad. I like the top of the mountain notion that you guys maybe have a little breath right now.
Exactly.
And maybe you can see what you can put back in.
Yeah.
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 So what was that like for you, Teale, just to watch our session back?
Yeah, I mean, I think if anything, it really warms my heart. It was kind of an example of you feeling bad about yourself and not staying in the story of this other fellow. And I really liked how you even related it back to our relationship and parenting and recognizing that mood that you can be in from processing something like this and feeling shame and feeling all these complicated feelings can affect us in the family. But just as your friend, like I named in the intro, it helped me get more in touch with, when I can do that. And I think we need more of that in this world. When I can be not kind, when I can be reactive with the outside world, with you, with the kids, we need more of this ability to be heartfelt and reflective.
Right.
We make mistakes and all we can do is reflect about it and then share it in relationship and be hopefully not shamed and, like,
Right.
Why'd you do that? But like loved up, like, dang, that sucks. And I just feel like it was actually kind of bonding for us.
Well, thank you. Obviously, it's counter-shaming. It makes me not feel so bad that that's how you see it and hear it, because I can still look, I can feel bad that I have a fiery temper. I hate even saying it, but I can have big reactions in certain moments. And like you hear me say in the clip, like, my dog getting attacked is one of those places that I'm not very grounded. But, the other thing, just seeing it a couple of days later, I know in the session I say like that, I'll say something and say sorry. And I just don't know the name, like I haven't done that. I don't know when the opportunity would be to do that, but I haven't actually done it yet.
And I think it's less about actually doing that. I mean, could you do that? Would that be cool? Sure. But it's also just being like available. Like obviously it's more like getting to the process of being in.
Right. Well, that's true. There's two different things. One is at least knowing like, look, I'm not, as you said, in the story of the other person, and translating that to our listeners and viewers, is basically that I'm not continuing to think about the story of the other person, that they were mean or they didn't take responsibility. Their dog being off the leash, right? You notice, like, it's very easy to come up with all the reasons why the other person really was bad. But actually starting to notice I'm in the story about the other person, starting to then be curious about, well, what's happening for me? And when I realize what's happening for me is like, I actually feel really bad about myself, the way I handled that situation. And I see the way I was reactive and I was angry and I was kind of, mean to him. And so then I can start to then, okay, so if I was going to share something, just like I shared right now in the session, at least with myself and at least with you, and now, of course, the audience, right, that I talk more about me than I'm talking about what the other person did wrong. And that actually sets me up if I am going to make a repair with this person, right? And, if the opportunity arises, I will committed to that. I can now talk to him about what I did, regardless of how he receives it, right? Regardless of how he receives it, I can actually let him know, look, I didn't handle this situation very well. I wish I had it done differently, and I'm sorry. Now, I don't have an expectation that he will do the same. If he does, great. If he doesn't, all those things are still true about me, right? I'm not waiting for him to show up, in a similar way in order for me not to be upset. So the other thing, like we said on the front end that I just wanted to go back to, if you have some big process inside you, and especially if you have a little voice that tells you, you know what, no one knows about this, you could keep this to yourself, that's pretty insidious. You want to be very careful about anytime you have a voice inside your head that actually says, you know what, you don't need to talk to anyone about this, or there's nothing for you to look at here, this was all the other person. That's the kind of messaging that one voice inside you is saying to try and help you not feel your vulnerability. So I do hope you're willing, just as you see me do, is to just take a real honest look at what are the ways you're hurting and get to a place that you feel safe to share it with someone who's safe for you, which obviously not only are you safe in general, but you're very, very safe for me and in this session. So thank you.
You're so welcome. And I just feel tenderness as you're talking about it. Yeah. It just is such a human piece, and it's revolutionary to do this. It's really, really important. And, just a word about shame. It's like it likes to live in the dark corners of the room. It doesn't, it feeds on aloneness and not being seen. And that actually perpetuates it. So what we're doing is bringing it out into the light.
Exactly. That's a beautiful way to put it. That's a really beautiful way to put it. You know, and again, I think it bears reiterating. I don't know if any of you are anything like me. When I have something that's stressing me out or I feel bad about inside, I can get very, very internal and my brow can furrow and I want to stay in there, like working out what the problem is. And part of being in a relationship and a marriage and a family for me, in my particular case, is I have a big impact on other people. I'm immensely important to you, to our kids. And even though it's totally understandable if I've got something going on that I'm going to be in a process inside myself, it's also true that the quality of my presence is now going to be seriously impacted, and it's going to have a huge negative impact on you and the kid if I let myself stay locked inside my own internal process without giving any light or air or space to it. So including you is actually the best I can do so that we at least can be together and I don't have to hold this with don't talk to me right now. I'm busy processing something I feel bad about. Right? That I can actually not have to hold my process so tightly. It helps me, and I think it helps.
It definitely helps me, and it helps our whole family. It's an example of your and our success doing this. Now, I just want to be clear that we are not always successful about this.
It takes a while to be successful. Yeah, sometimes it's messy before we get here. It wasn't today.
And I'm just saying that I think in our daily life, we're processing stuff about our clients, we're processing stuff in our own spheres about our parents. I am processing those things. Yeah. I'll just speak for myself here because that's really real for me. And sometimes I can be reactive and I don't even know. It's like we don't always have to know that's what we're doing. We're going to get into ruptures and repairs. I might be processing something about my mom or dad and then be like a little grumpy with you because I've done something that doesn't feel so good, which happens a lot. There's complicated relationships there for me. And then I'm going to be reactive or short with the kids. And then we get into a negative thing. Exactly. And then I'm just feeling like, oh my gosh, it's all bad. And so I think in those cases, we can claim a repair. Man, I think I was in this thing and I think I bit your head off. And here's actually what was going on. So just reiterating, you're not always going to catch it on the front like Fakes did. You caught this.
Exactly.
And sometimes I don't catch it or you don't catch it or any of us doesn't catch it. And that's not bad. You don't have to be the archangel. Prepare.
Most of the time when I end up having to tell you, look, I'm feeling bad about myself because it started leaking out in reactivity in ways I was grumpy or I was not wanting to participate in stuff. And then I have to work it out and tell you because clearly me trying to keep all this on my own is making things worse in other ways now between you and me.
Right.
So that's a really good point is that sometimes we get triggered even though it's not about a relationship, but then it creates a negative cycle in our relationship. And that is normal. Let's not try and work out who hurt who first, right? It just, regardless of how it started, even if I was upset because Ireland just lost at rugby again, which now it's normal. There's no point getting upset. I'm not very good at the moment. But if I'm grumpy for the rest of the day because Ireland lost at rugby, look, at some point in the middle of the day, we just end up in our cycle, our negative system that is both of us. There's no point in trying to trace it back to make Figs was the source of all of this.
Absolutely not. And then we get into a cycle that we both have to do. But that's another good point. And I think we'll go into that.
Too many good points.
So many good points. Mind blown.
Yeah. But here, look, thank you again, for listening and for watching, the sessions if you're watching these. And we're looking forward to coming back and being with you again in 2 weeks. So stay tuned and please listen, subscribe, and share with anyone you think would love to listen to two people talk about themselves. there must be someone.
No, for people that want to listen to how funny I am about how I got you.
You did that was the win of win. I don't think I'll ever be able to fully get you back to that.
I don't think so either. It feels so good. I'm just gonna
good job.
You are be in this.
Clarissa forever to me.
Hello.
All right, that was beautiful. Good.
Goodbye.
Bye. This was Come Here to Me. Relationship experts walk the talk.
Visit comeheretomepodcast.com for episode transcripts, social media links, and to subscribe to the mailing list.
If you or someone you love are struggling in your relationship or just want to work on making things that little bit better, visit us at empathy.com. That's empathy with an I on the end, not a Y on the end. We've got quizzes, courses, videos, articles, and free consultations for couples counseling or for relationship coaching.